So that I never can understand it, the way the system planned. There's no hope, no chance, no loophole, no escape for a sufferer man. 'Cause every time I lift my head above water, I try to save myself from drown. There's an overnight scheme all worked out, designed to keep me down. Still I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. I've gotta work it out. Window, window. I wanna stay home tonight. I long to spend some time with the family, but staying home won't make it right. Sometimes the pressure makes me feel like harder, but every sign says no way out. Breaking my back to make an overtime dollar. That just goes from hand to mouth. Still I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. I've got to work it out. Lord, I'm putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out, Lord. Got to fight. Got to fight. Though I never can understand it, the way the system goes. I don't know how they do it. It's only one way things flow. 'Cause every time I lift my head above water, I try to save myself from drown. There's an overnight scheme worked out, designed to keep me down. Still I'm putting up a resistance. Got to work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. Whoa, putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out now. Putting up a resistance now. I'm gonna work it out. Wanna stay home tonight. Like to spend some time with my family. Staying home won't take it right. Sometimes the pressure make me feel like harder. When every sign says no way out. Breaking my back to make an overnight dollar that goes from hand to mouth. Still I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. Got to work it out. You know I'm putting up resistance. Putting up some fight. Got to fight. Putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out back now. Putting up some resistance now. Putting up resistance. Putting up the fight, fight.
Good evening, everybody. Are you hearing?
Yes, miss, we're hearing you.
Okay. Where's everybody? Almost 5:20. We're making their way.
Yes, miss.
Is there any group here that did not give me their topic? I think I still have two groups to hear from. Nobody here. Everybody here gave me their topic or their idea for a topic so far.
Yes, miss.
Miss,
Okay.
miss.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you haven't heard from my group as yet.
Okay. Send me a private message with what you all are thinking of, because you must have something in mind by now.
Miss, I did.
Hmm?
I did. I did send
Oh,
you
yes.
the.
Right. I saw that. That's true. Your volume is low, Shanae.
Okay.
For me, anyway. All right. So perhaps we can get started, and hopefully the other 16 people will join us soon. Hoping that's the case. This evening, I wanted us to talk a little bit more about the approach to choosing the research topic. I have spoken to the, see, I don't like to repeat things, you know. I don't want people to miss it even though they have the recording. But I did indicate to you that I was going to talk to the lecturers that typically facilitate the second half of the course, which I have. And basically, you're not restricted to the things outlined on the HR seminar course outline. So for instance, you are to maintain the overall topic focus in terms of the areas that I would have shown you. However, where the content said things like conducted performance evaluation, system study, or a personnel management program, look at one, or do a job analysis. You don't have to restrict yourselves to doing only those things. As long as though what you're looking at centers around one of the main areas outlined on the curricula, then you're okay. So what we need to do is to look more closely at the topics which have been identified, narrow them a little bit more, and ensure that there are no two groups which are doing the exact same thing. All right, and if we can do that, then I think that we're on our way. All right, so this evening, I want us to look at I know some groups gave me like 3 or 4 topic ideas that they had. Some were saying, okay, this is what we have in mind, but we're not sure that we're going to stick to that sort of thing. But you have to pinpoint something now, because you have to start to do the groundwork from now, because you don't want to wait and then have a lot of things waiting for you in terms of chapter 1, which is coming up relatively soon. All right, so we need to get started where that's concerned, fine-tuning the topics. Are you seeing my screen with my YouTube channel?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Now, I want all of you to, when you visit the channel, you can hit subscribe, right? So you're notified when something is posted, correct?
Yes, miss.
Okay, so I need everybody to hit subscribe so they're notified, right? So I've created 2 playlists specifically for this class. There's one with some resources, one of which we're going to look at this evening. And then there's another which has the class, what you call it now? The course recordings, the class recordings in it. All right, so if the links are also in the Canvas shell in modules, you'll see the YouTube links there. And those links should take you to, of course, the playlist for the course so that you can, if you miss something, you can listen in on what you missed. All right. All right. So that's one of the things that we're going to be focusing on today. We have to, did everyone who is here now create a RefWorks account?
Yes, miss.
All right,
Yes,
Jessica
miss.
did, Paula did, Curtis? Curtis, are you there? Jadim, I know you did. Karen? Curtis
Yes,
said,
yes, miss. Yes, miss.
all right. Patricia?
Yes, miss.
Okay, great. Ricardo?
Present, miss. Present, present.
Yeah, did you create a RefWorks account?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Romaine?
Yes, miss.
Oh, Shana K?
Yes, miss, I did.
Shanae?
Yes, miss.
Sharon?
Yes, miss.
All right, great. Kimberly, your hand is up. Go ahead. Kimberly? You're muted, Kimberly.
My hand is telling you that I did, miss.
Okay, great. Were you the one having issues last time?
No, no.
Okay. Because I asked Miss Morrison to pop in because there was some persons who were saying they were having issues when the email went to their account to activate, that they were having issues getting to the actual RefWorks page.
Yes, that's true, miss. And one person was still having issues today, but I showed that what to do.
Okay, so they're okay now?
Yes, yes, miss.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so then maybe Miss Morrison doesn't need to come in then. We can just move along. All right, so 14 of, okay, the number is climbing slowly. All right, so you would have received, what is that now? 2 articles, right? I sent an email with 2 articles asking you all to have, and I asked each group to bring an article to class, right? So I hope you would have done that. I want to start out with us looking at, let me see which one I want to focus on now. I think we can start with the one that speaks to fitting the mold. That's the name of the article. Fitting the mold, the role of employer perceptions. Did everybody open the articles?
Yes, miss.
All right, great. What we're going to do to start, right? You're gonna go in, I'm going to create the breakout rooms. Each room is going to go into the room. Each person is going to go into the room assigned to their course. And you're going to look for 2 things in this article. I want you to identify what the issue or problem is. And I also want you to identify within the article what the purpose of the article is. All right. So within your groups, you're going to have that discussion. I'm going to give you 15 minutes, right, to skim the article and determine that. So you're looking at 1, what is the issue identified in the article, issue or problem, and 2, what's the purpose of the article? What are the authors trying to achieve? And then we're going to come back to the group and we're going to discuss. Yes, Sharon.
Miss, where did you send that?
Emailed it. I think it was emailed today.
Canvas.
Canvas.
Oh, okay.
All right, so check your email.
Okay.
It's the one. Let me see which email it is. It's the article about the. Let me see. The recruitment of. Did I attach the right article? Yes, the recruitment of immigrants. That's the one I want you to focus on. All right. So I'm going to open the groups. You're going to go into your group, and then that's what you're going to do. So you're looking for the issue or the problem that led to the need for the study, or why the authors decided that there was a need for the study, and what is the purpose of the study. You should, all of that is within the first 7 pages of the article. So you're going to skim it, and this is something you have to be able to do now in order to do your literature reviews. You have to read through quickly and pick up on those things within what is there. All right. So I'm creating the groups now, and you're going to get 15 minutes. So that means you're going to come back at about, let me see now, that would make it about, call it 10 minutes to 6. You're going to come back, and then we're going to discuss that. Any questions? Okay.
Miss, what is it we need to be looking for?
You're going to look for what the authors identified as the issue or problem. Why is it that they have decided to do this study? And secondly, what is the purpose of this study? Okay, so the research problem or issue that has motivated the need for the study, and the purpose of the study. And you're focusing on the one that's entitled, the article by Almeida, Fernando, Hannett, and Darmage. That's the one about the recruitment of immigrants. All right, so I'm going to open the groups now, and you go to the group number, the group for your group number.
Okay, miss.
Go ahead for me, join your group.
Oh,
Kimberly, your volume is low. What you saying? Jessica, what group are you in? I'm not seeing you going to your group. Jessica? Carlene?
Miss, I'm using my phone, so I'm trying to find the group. Give me a
What
minute.
group are you in, Carlene?
Group 8.
8? Okay.
Yes, I'm trying to use my phone.
It's all right. I'll put you there.
Okay, thanks.
Jessica? Or Jody now? Jody? You have to accept it, Carlene. Jody? Okay. Christina? Shanna K?
Yes, miss, I'm trying to log in so that I can go in the room. I was in it a while ago.
Okay, all right. Christina?
Yes, miss.
What group are you in?
I think group 5.
Okay, all right.
I'm to join the group, miss.
Huh?
I'm to join the group.
Yes. Are you seeing the option there to join?
No.
All right, let me put you there. You should be able to accept now.
Okay, thanks,
Just
ma.
you in the room. Nobody else is there yet. Leonie,
Miss?
are you just joining us?
No, miss, it's an error while I'm back in the main group.
Okay, go back in your room, please. You know how to get back there? You're in
Yes,
room
miss.
9.
Yes.
Okay. Chanel,
Yes, miss.
good evening.
Good evening.
They're in their groups looking at the article that I emailed, the one on immigrants.
Yes, miss.
So they're to identify the research problem and the purpose of the study.
Okay, I'm going to join the group now.
All right, great.
Thanks, miss.
All right, no problem. Shanna K, you're back. Shanna K. Ricardo,
Yes, miss.
you were in your group, you got bumped out.
No, no, miss. I was the only one from my group who's here. So,
Oh, okay. Are you through with the exercise?
yes, miss. If I read anything more, I don't think I can read anymore.
All right. Well, as long as you identify the two things, that's fine.
Okay.
Time should be up now. Let me tell them that. Didn't even realize. All right, everybody is back with me now.
Yes, miss.
All right, great. Everybody had a chance to answer both questions.
I believe so. For me.
All right.
Yes, miss.
All right, great. Okay, so let us start then. Who said no?
Jodian.
Oh,
Because one of our teammates was having technical difficulties. And,
so
then I joined late, so.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead nonetheless and see. So let us start with the problem and raise your hands, please, to respond. So what did you identify as the research problem? What was the issue that the authors identified that motivated or compelled them to do this study? All right, Jody, I see your hand first. Go ahead. Jody, you're muted. Jody, you're muted. All right.
You hearing me now, miss?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
All right, so we never finished, but we just copy and paste something quickly because the meeting room was about to close. But for the issues, we decided, and there is a growing global trend where governments of many countries in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development are attempting to create policies to limit illegal and low-skilled immigrants.
Your volume going in and out, Jody. Go again.
All right, so there is a influx of of illegal and low-skilled immigrants, and they have set up policies to limit those type of immigrants. That's the issue to me.
All right, so that's part of the problem that you've identified at the outline.
Yes, miss.
All right, that's one part, but that there's more to it. Go ahead, Melissa. Thank you, Jody.
Miss, what we saw from her group is utilization of skilled migrants in different countries.
Mm-hmm. So explain that to me. What did you get? Because I want you all to be able to, in your own words, summarize what you see in the article.
Basically, persons moving to countries, different countries, and with education background are not being utilized in the different countries, such as Canada and other countries. They narrow it down to Australia to get the research from that area. So even though you have your education, you're not being utilized like the persons of that country.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have anything to add?
Miss?
Yes, Patricia?
Okay, within our group, we found two main issues for the study, which was the cultural barrier, which was preventing persons who are skilled, but because they were from non-English speaking areas, they were not looked upon for the jobs, even though they were more qualified than persons who were from English speaking countries. So we found that that was an issue. The other issue that we found is the issue of diversity came out a lot in the article as we were reading through it.
Mm-hmm.
So the persons then, or the recruiters, had to then examine themselves to see the different levels of diversity coming in, which is cultural, religion, dress. They went on to speak about dress and so on. So the governments were attempting to create policies to address the different issues of the different immigrants coming from various countries in terms of diversity.
All right, thank you. Good. Anybody else have anything to add?
Miss.
Volume is low. Who is trying to say
Miss?
something? Yes, Sharon, go ahead.
Sharon. Miss, from what I read, basically you have to look the part and dress the part if you want them to employ you. And even though you might be qualified, perception plays a great role from what I read. As if you don't look the part or dress the part, they don't want to employ you. And the language barrier. If you don't speak the language of the country in which you want the job, then that's a barrier. They don't want to employ you either.
All right, thank you.
That's what I
So,
gather. That's what I gather from what I read.
all right, yes, and you are all on the right track. So basically what the authors started by doing is to outline the issue as it exists from a broad perspective. So they have indicated to you that there is a global trend where countries within the consider the Organization Economic Cooperation and Development banned countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, US, UK, France, Netherlands, Germany, Norway, Japan, and Czech Republic have put policies in place to attract highly qualified immigrants, right? And we know about this because we have seen this with Canada and the US in particular, where it is easier for somebody who is qualified at the tertiary level, is a professional, it's easier for them to immigrate to those countries than persons who come from low skilled areas. So you find that what they wanted to do was to clamp down, or what the authors have indicated is that you find that there are a lot of low skilled immigrants that go to these countries illegally. And so the governments of these countries put policies in place to make it easier for the high skilled immigrants to come to the countries and settle there. However, they've also indicated that having gone to these countries now, these high skilled immigrants are not able to access the job opportunities. They're not recruited for the job opportunities. If it is that they're some of their more obvious cultural characteristics stand out or are different than the country they're going to. So for instance, you're going to a Western country and you're from an Eastern country where your dress, your language, your ability to speak English, your religious background is not of the majority, then it may negatively influence your ability to get a job. People don't recruit you as readily, right? And so with all of those things, taking all of those things into consideration, they have decided that they're going to look at things a little differently, because one of the things they indicated is that you have studies that have been looking at, for instance, I think they say, for instance, that there are studies that look at things like from the immigrant's perspective to see why it is that they want to go to these countries to gain employment, right? However, you don't have a lot of studies looking at the perspective that they are going to explore now in their article or their study, and so they've chosen to do this. So what was the purpose of their study now? Now that we have identified what the problem or the research problem or the issue at hand was, what are they seeking to examine in their study? Don't all jump at once.
Let me jump in, Miss.
Okay, Patricia.
Okay, in our group we found 4 reasons or purpose for the study. The first one was to examine the underutilization of skilled migrants. Why is it that some countries are able to take some immigrants at a certain level and some countries are not? They wanted to put that in there. They wanted to find.
Patricia, was it all of these countries they're focusing on, or was it a specific country? Because you have to be specific when you're stating the purpose.
Yes, miss. They narrowed it down to Australia.
Okay, great, wonderful. All right, go ahead now.
Okay, so they were trying to find out the underutilization of skilled migrants. That was one, in Australia, to be specific.
Yeah.
And 2, they wanted to examine the employer's exposure to diversity. So persons who are doing the recruitment, Daniel, who are doing recruitment, I'm sorry. Do they understand that persons are Muslim different from persons who are Christian, different from persons who are Rastafarians? Did they understand fully the diversity of these persons that they are going to employ? Do they understand the ramification of them not speaking English and so on and so forth? They wanted to examine that as well. They also wanted to zero in on diversity in a whole, in terms of not just sectionalize it in terms of culture, language, and so on. They wanted to look at it. So if I'm employing you, let's say, how do you dress? That was mentioned. How do I expect you to dress? How do I expect you to look when you come to work? These are some issues in diversity that they wanted to zero in on. And lastly, we found that they wanted to provide a more in-depth insight to the factor that cause migrant skills to be undervalued. So those are the 4 issues that we found out was the purpose or the reason for the study.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Jody, I see your hand up.
My hand wasn't really up, but we came up with the same purpose as Patricia.
Okay.
Because
All
based
right.
on the study suggests that skilled migrants are underused in Australia, as she said, as an effect of social and group identity using social identity theory. So the author explores the interrelationship of the employer's exposure to diversity and how it shapes their perception of a candidate's fit based on their attire, the name, accent, and religious affiliations in recruitment decision making.
Okay, and I'm going to post it to the group now. That sentence, okay? The paper explores the interrelationship of 2 factors: employers' exposure to diversity and how it shapes their perception of a candidate's fit based on attire, name, accent, and religious affiliations in recruitment decision-making in the context of the IT industry in New South Wales, Australia. Adrice, are you there?
Yes, miss.
What did you get from that purpose? What exactly are they looking at?
All right. So, well,
In
to
your
me,
own words.
what I got from the purpose was that they are trying to find out what are causes of the underutilization of the migrants, and I don't think I want to say that in a miss. Miss, I'm not sure if my answer right.
Well, let me hear it.
All right, so they wanted to find out what the underutilization of the migrants in these countries, well, New Zealand to be specific, how it affects the workforce and how the lack of diversity in hiring in the recruitment process affects the workforce as well.
All right, it's more the latter, right? Not exactly the answer, but the latter. The last thing you said is closer to what the purpose really is or the explanation of that statement. Okay, so I want you all, everybody here in the group, to put in the chat for me, in the general chat, your understanding of that statement that I just read. This paper, it's on page 2 in the second paragraph, the second sentence in the second paragraph. This paper explores the interrelationship of 2 factors: employers' exposure to diversity, and it's in your own words, I want you to put it, and how it shapes their perception of a candidate's fit based on attire, name, accent, and religious affiliation in the recruitment decision-making in the IT industry. Everybody in the chat, put your interpretation of what that statement is saying. Right now, type it for me. Your interpretation of what that statement is saying in your own words. I don't see anything coming up yet.
Mr. Typing.
Okay. All right, I see Jadim's response. I'm waiting on the others. I only seen 2 responses so far, guys. Come on. What is your interpretation of that statement? I need to see others coming in. All right, 3 now. I just want you to briefly explain what you understand from that statement. It's important that you do this exercise because these are the types of things you're going to have to do in reviewing the literature.
Miss, is it the second page, second paragraph?
Yes.
Okay.
The sentence that starts, this paper explores the interrelationship of 2 factors: employers' exposure to diversity,
That's page 2.
it's page 2 for me. I'm
not seeing that paragraph.
Second paragraph on page 2. In the article is actually page 2812. All right, I'm gonna go ahead now. All right, so let me look at some of the responses I have in the chat. All right, so Jadim says, to me, this is how employers are exposed to different cultures and their willingness to accept these differences within their organizations. Carlene says, judging persons based on first impression. Curtis says, are the employers aware of diversity, or do they understand what is diversity? And if so, how does it aid them in making decisions as it relates to recruitment of migrants? Paula says, in making decisions in recruitment, those factors are taken into consideration. Patricia says, this article seeks to explore the effects that diversity plays within the organization. The more open to diversity, the better the employer are able to attract skilled employees. Chanel, it looks at the relationship between factors such as employers' knowledge about diversity and how this knowledge affects the way they make recruitment decisions with diverse aspects. Adris, the paper seeks to explore how the employer's lack of exposure to cultural diversity and hesitance to accept the cultural differences of migrants undermines the recruitment of skilled migrants. Shana K, having cultural differences and do employers aware of diversity in the organization. Carlene, another factor is that adaptation to other differences. Jessica, employers' openness to variety and how it shapes their impression of an employee's fits dependent on clothing, name, accent, etc. Carlene, employers' view on candidates' cultural backgrounds, being exposed to these backgrounds and how it benefits the selection process to choose the best candidates. Jody, findings from study conducting indicates as a result, the purpose of writing was to discuss the relationship between employers' exposure to diversity and how they determine whether a candidate is fit for service based on attire, name, accent in making decisions concerning recruitment. Okay, thank you. So for those of you who responded, I think most of you got the gist of the purpose of the study. And why I wanted to do this particular activity is because it's very important for you to be able to read these journal articles and pick up on key elements like the research problem, the purpose of the study as stated by the authors, and a little later on, we'll look at things like the research question, the hypothesis, or the prediction. If you're not able to identify those things, then you won't be able to understand essentially what the article is saying. So as you've outlined, what the author wanted to do was to look at how much exposure do these employers have to people of diverse backgrounds, all right? How, because you know in this world, you have people who have lived in sections of their country and have never been exposed to people from other countries, from people from other cultural backgrounds. So they don't have an understanding. They're not used to having people who dress differently, look differently, speak differently, speak with an accent, or even if they speak English, they might have a heavy accent, or they might have an accent altogether, who have different religious beliefs. And so they're less willing to accept persons with different cultural and other diverse backgrounds. So what the study is doing is to look at the level of exposure that employers or the persons making recruitment decisions may have to individuals of different or diverse background, and how that influences their recruitment decisions. And they focus on the IT industry, right? In New South Wales, right? Because what the author is saying is that you recognize that in some of these countries, particularly Western countries, although they have a lot of highly skilled immigrants coming into the country based on the policies they themselves have set up, the employers are not recruiting them, they're not employing them. So they want to look at, okay, is it a matter that these employers are not exposed to people from various backgrounds who dress and look and sound different? And that is why it's influencing their decision to hire them. So they're looking at that, and they're looking at the implications for recruitment in the industry overall. What does it mean in terms of those who are employed in the industry? How does it affect employment decisions? How does it affect these professionals' ability to gain jobs? All right. So that is ultimately what the article is looking at, right? And if you go down further, if you look with me in the final paragraph, right? It says, I think it's the final 2 sentences of the final paragraph, same page that you were just on. It says this paper provides a more in-depth insight into the factors that cause migrant skills to be undervalued, and in doing so expands on limited perspective offered by the theory they're focused on. Second, by adopting an employer perspective through that approach, this paper represents a departure from the bulk of the literature noted above, which has opted largely to look at the employee or migrant perspective in understanding the migrant skill underutilization phenomenon. So what they're saying there is there's very little literature, there's very little research which has focused on things from the employer's perspective as to why they're not hiring these people. Much of the literature has instead focused on the migrant worker who hasn't been able to get jobs and their impression of why they haven't been able to get employment. All right. Everybody understand the activity?
Yes, miss.
And what you just did?
Yes, miss.
All right, good. And it's important for you to be able to do this because you're going to have assignments where that is required of you. You're going to have assignments coming up where you're required, you get 3 or 4 articles possibly, and you're required to do that level of critique of the article. You're required to identify what is the research problem really, what is the purpose of the study, what are the research questions. You're going to get activities to do, and you have to be able to look at an article and break it down in that way. All right. Now, the second thing I want to do this evening, aside from that activity, now that you're all on RefWorks, right? I want to show you, because I want you to, I'm going to start telling you now, okay, get articles related to your study, and I want to show you exactly how you're supposed to, when you find these articles, utilize RefWorks to help you to save these articles. All right, so let me go in here and play that video to kind of introduce you guys to RefWorks.
RefWorks is an online research tool.
Hold a second. Where is this thing now? Waiting for the thing to come up. Are you seeing the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
To help you manage your references when writing and collaborating with fellow researchers. RefWorks organizes, stores, and shares all types of information and can instantly create citations and bibliographies. In this brief introduction to RefWorks, you'll learn how to find and save references while doing your research, how to organize references once they're in RefWorks, and how to cite those references in your writing. Let's say you're doing research, for example, in the library database, and you find a document you will need to cite. Usually there will be some way you can export or save the reference directly into RefWorks. If not, see if you can export an RIS file. When exporting directly into RefWorks, you'll have to choose which version of RefWorks your institution uses. If you always choose only one of them, check this box so RefWorks doesn't ask you again, then click the RefWorks version you want to use. In RefWorks, the import is complete, so click OK. The process works the same way if your institution has a web-scale discovery service like Primo or Summon. After conducting a search, save the references, and then use the tools in the discovery service to export the references. If you're looking at a document on a website that doesn't have a tool to export references directly to RefWorks, you can install and use a browser bookmarklet called Save to RefWorks. RefWorks will quickly scan the page to find the reference information and then show it in a sidebar. You may even be given the option to save a link to the full text. Add or correct any fields of information, then at the bottom, click Save to RefWorks. Now you are in RefWorks, and you're looking at the last imported references. Some of these references have already been moved into folders or been given tags, but the reference you just imported is not in a folder. Instead, it's in a place in the My Folders section called Not in Folder. Using folders is a great way to organize your references, and all you have to do is drag and drop the references to the folder you want. You can have folders for different research projects or different classes or whatever works for you. You can also share one of your folders and all the references it contains. That way, when you work on a research team, you all can have access to those same references when writing your research papers. So now let's look how RefWorks helps when you're writing that research paper. If you use Microsoft Word for Windows, Mac, or iPad, you can add the tool called RefWorks Citation Manager. This is basically a simplified version of RefWorks, which shows up in Microsoft Word as an add-in with its own tab. After you log into RefWorks Citation Manager, it synchronizes references with your RefWorks account. As you write your paper, when you need to cite one of your reference sources, you'll find it on the sidebar. You can switch to the folder that contains the reference you want, or use the search box. When you hover over the reference, you'll be able to edit the reference, or you can just click Cite This, and the citation is inserted in the place you left your cursor. At any time, you can add a bibliography at the end of your paper. Click here on the Options menu and turn on Bibliography. The full references will be added in the proper citation style. Continue adding citations to your paper, and the bibliography will grow too. By the way, if you need a different citation style, click the Options menu, choose a citation style, then click Update. Older versions of Microsoft Word cannot use RefWorks Citation Manager, so in that case, you can add the tool called Write and Cite. This tool has similar functionality to RefWorks Citation Manager, but some of the workflows are different. Details on how to use Write and Cite are covered in a different training session. If you don't use Microsoft Word, but you use Google Docs instead, there is an add-on for RefWorks there too. This tool is more like RefWorks Citation Manager, with a sidebar and quick access to your references. But with Google Docs, there is the added ability to share the document with other people. And that's a quick introduction to RefWorks. Take a look at other training sessions.
Okay, for next week's class, I wanted to show you that particular video. For our class on Monday, each group is going to get 5 articles related to their topic of interest, and they're going to save it. Each member is going to save it to their RefWorks folder. Now, as you saw in the video, the gentleman said you can share your folder with others, okay? So each group, it would be wise for you to create a folder and share it with your group members. So you should have 5 sources, whether it's a journal article, newspaper article, utilize the online database. It's going to be 5 sources that you're going to save to your RefWorks, and it has to be related to your topic. And then you're going to come to class, and I want you to summarize the problem and the purpose of at least 2 of those sources. Everybody understand?
Miss, you're going to send us an email of what you just said?
Why I need to send an email of what I just said? Listen carefully. You're going to find 5 sources Okay, whether it's a journal article, newspaper article, whatever report, okay, you're gonna find 5 sources related to your topic of interest, and you're going to save them to RefWorks. All right, so it's best if you use the online databases through the library. When that folder that you're saving in, make sure you share it with your group members. When you come to class on Monday, be prepared to explain 2 of those sources to the class. What are you explaining? The purpose, the research problem or issue that was highlighted in the article, and the purpose, what was the objective that the authors were trying to achieve through that writing, piece of writing. Okay?
All right, miss.
All right, great. Now, to move on, and you're gonna have to show the rest of the class your reference with what is in it, those 5 sources. So you're gonna have to, each group is going to, at least one member is gonna have to share their screen and show that. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
All right, no. I wanted to also, now that the rest of the class is here, repeat again that I have spoken to the 2 lecturers who may potentially teach you the second half of the course about the approach to the research projects that you will be completing in year 4. And so we've discussed the approach. So you don't have to be restricted to the different things they said in terms of the content area, that you have to do a training analysis of a training program. You have to do a study of performance evaluation system or personnel management program, etc. However, your study must focus on one of these areas, which I had told you last week and shown you in the slide. All right. Now, each of your groups, I think it's just probably 2 groups I haven't heard from in terms of the topics you're thinking of. But at least most groups have identified at least one topic of interest. All right. Now, you're going to have to refine these topics of interest, determine exactly what it is you want to focus on, and I want you to think about it, determine exactly what it is you want to focus on, and then communicate that to me. All right. Okay. So for instance, I know group one has to refine their topic a little bit more. Group 6, in terms of what you were looking at, we might need to work out the topic a little bit more. Group 9 has to narrow it more, all right, because there's also another video I have put in the YouTube channel, and now that's only 3 people are missing. I said at the beginning of class, when most persons weren't here, that I have created 2 playlists for this class on my YouTube channel. One of them has resources that I want you to pay attention to, and the other one has the class recordings, which I've also put the links to those in the module section on Zoom. I want you to pay attention to the videos that I put in the resource section on YouTube. There's one in there that speaks to how to refine your topic, and you watched another one last week that said that in your topic, you can refine by looking at geographic areas. So for instance, all of you, I think most, if not all of you, are focused on an issue within the Ministry of Education. All right. No, you don't have to limit what you're doing to an office at your location and Hero Circle. Okay. if there are other locations of or other entities of the ministry, as we know they are across the island, or if you want to look at how a particular issue may be affecting a particular region, all right, region 1 versus region 3, you can do that. If you want to look at how a particular issue is affecting men only, that is fine. If you want to look at how a particular issue is affecting females, that is fine as well. If you want to look at how a particular issue is affecting working mothers, single mothers, you can do that. If you want to look at how a particular issue is affecting employees of a particular age group, you can look at that. All right. So don't be so broad. You may want to filter down your research to look at specific groups or a particular geographic area or a particular department within the ministry. It does not have to be the entire ministry. All right, because sometimes when it is very broad, it might pose a challenge for you to kind of filter down to what you're doing. So you're going to have to start broad in terms of getting information now to inform your research, but in terms of how you're going about doing the research now and who you might choose to focus on, don't make it too broad. All right. Any questions related to what I've just said? All right, great. So what I'm going to do now, I want to have a little bit of consultation time to ensure that everybody is clear. I'm going to put you back into the breakout rooms. I'm going to start with the 2 groups that I did not hear from. Shanae, what group are you guys in? What's the group number?
4.
4.
Yes,
and Sharon, you are? Sharon?
7, Miss.
7. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so group 5, I need to meet with group 5 first, and then I'm going to come to the other 2 groups, the other 8 groups, to hear subsequent to last class, whether or not you've decided, because some of you gave me like 3 topics, decided on the one you're going to go with, or if you've refined it anymore. So we're going to use the last few minutes of class for that, because by next week's class, I want you to have decided on a topic. All right? By next week, Monday's class. Anybody have any issue or so on before we move to the groups?
No, miss.
All right, and last class, when I close the groups, everybody, well, only 10 people were left. When I close the groups, everybody is always to come back to the general class before we leave, okay? So I try to close the group within the last few minutes of class if we're doing it at the end, but you always come back to the general session. Don't just sign out. Okay? All right.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
Opening the breakout rooms. Danielle?
Yes, miss.
What group are you in?
Group 6.
Group
Yes, miss.
3?
6.
6. Okay. Jeru? Jeru? 6 as well?
6. Yes.
Okay, join your group. So let me go to 5 now.
All right, so I guess this is it.
All right, later.
All right.
Miss,
Hello?
this class is finished?
Hold on, I wanted to say something to you guys before you leave.
Oh, because I was on an emergency call.
Oh, you have work?
No, I had an emergency call, so I was
Oh,
out of class.
okay, all right. All right. Wait, everybody not back? Okay, guys, so before we wrap up this evening, I didn't get to go to each group, but I want to have some consultation time with the different groups. So I'm going to send you some options in terms of times that, you know, potentially we could meet to discuss before next class, because I want to hear what it is you're thinking in terms of your topic. Sometimes the topics are too general and you have to filter them down a little bit more to look at something more specific. So before next class, I want you to do a scan of the literature, look at things written related to your topic and try to hone your topic down more. Subscribe to the YouTube page, click on the Zoom class recording link in Canvas and subscribe to the page and look at the resources that I posted there just today. I will send you some follow-up messages in terms of scheduling the consultation times. All right?
Okay.
Any quick questions before we wrap up? Because I know you have another class to get to. All right, so just pay attention to the messages, please. And also note, I want you to go to the Moodle page for this course because they have one available and there's some additional resources there for you as well. All right, everybody, have a good evening.
Same to you, Miss.
Same to you.